Hey everyone. Hey, I'm very excited to say that I have gotten my hands on the new Cyrusher Nitro. It's their 1000 watt mid-drive bike. Um, this falls into a class that I call adventure bikes. I don't call them mountain bikes. I don't call it, they're certainly not downhill bikes. They're not jumpers. They're heavy. Um, but what they are incredibly good for is just adventure, exploring, that kind of thing, back roads, camping. Um Overland crowd loves these bikes because you can throw it in the back of your vehicle, and then once your camp's set up, you can get around quietly without burning any gas. And you can always recharge these on a solar charger. It takes a while, but you can do it. Um, they're also great for hunting, scouting, that kind of thing. And the best reason to think about purchasing one of these bikes, other than just getting you into the backcountry and seeing some things you haven't seen in a while, is just for the overall fitness benefits of these bikes. Um, they in no way do all the work for you. They can, if you just use throttle, power around without pedaling or anything like that. It's always there if you really need it. But generally, you ride these like a normal bicycle and just bump up the power to assist you to the level that's comfortable. So if you're a very fit rider, you probably will ride on a assist level that's lower than what a new rider would ride on, that kind of thing. But you can get a heck of a workout on these things. Really is amazing. My biking, I had been off a bike for several years, and getting back into the e-bikes and the back roads riding and all that has really raised my fitness level again. So that's been great. The general specs on this bike, I'll just run through them real quick here if you haven't heard anything about this bike. Like I said, it's got the M620 mid-drive Bafang motor, torque sensors, pretty much any one of these kind of big fat tire, especially the mid-drives, but pretty much any of the better fat tire adventure bikes are going to have torque sensors versus cadence sensors, but always something to look for. This has the Bafang DPC 270 display. I'm kind of excited about that because that display has watts in use on it, so you'll be able to watch how much power your motor's drawing and all that as you ride, which is always kind of interesting. It has a 48 volt 20 amp hour Samsung battery, so good quality battery. Shimano Dior M6000 10-speed derailleur. Has the DNM rear shock with unspecified amount of travel. So we're gonna let the air out of that shock and check and see how much travel is in the rear end. It also has the inverted air forks, and they rate those at having 200 millimeters of travel. So the general parameters of the bike here is that it comes in one frame size. It's supposed to fit riders 5'7" to 6'6", and has a seat height of 33.5 inches to 38.5 inches. They rate it as having an 85-mile, 140-kilometer range on flat ground. And one thing that the hunters and the campers will really love is that this bike is rated for 440 pounds of load. So that's combined weight of rider and gear. But 440 is significant. That's a lot more than a lot of the similar bikes. And like the Ranger behind me, the green bike, this Cyrusher has a 2-year warranty. So those are just the basics of the bike, and we're going to cut this box open, get it off, and see what's in here. Just one more quick thing, and then I promise we'll get to the unboxing here. I wanted to mention that The 1000 watt mid-drive motor on this may spike up beyond that. I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't pulling 1200. Just to put that in perspective, every 1 horsepower is equal to 746 watts. So if this were to, well, let's just stay with 1000 watt. We're talking about almost a 1.5 horsepower electric motor. So that's significant. And another way to think of this is that on the 20-minute stress tests that they put athletes through, a very strong cyclist can produce about 250 to 300 watts on that test. That same 20-minute stress test for a pro cyclist, they can average about 400 watts. So when you're talking about having, well, let's just for ease of numbers, let's say that this spikes to 1200. That's essentially like having 3 pro cyclists on the bike with you, pedaling along. So if you think of it that way, it's a lot of power. Yeah. Okay, so this is how it comes boxed up here. It looks like it came through shipping fine so far. One thing I'm noticing that I'm going to put a light on here, see if you can see this on. But this, what I thought was black, is actually, if you can see that color there, it's actually a very dark metallic blue. Looks really pretty. Looks great. So beautiful color. Beautiful color. So let me get this thing out of its wrapping here, and we'll take a look. Okay, the packaging's coming off here and everything's looking amazing underneath. I don't see any damage at all, so I think we came through the shipping just fine. This thing so far is looking absolutely amazing. Boy, it's a beautiful bike. Real standard assembly here, as far as comes pretty much assembled except for the bars and the front wheel and some miscellaneous things to attach, like your monitor here and all of that. So yeah, you spin this around and all that. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut to time lapse for this section, and we'll get this thing up on its wheels. The front wheel did come with a nice disc guard there. It's got 180 millimeter rotors front and rear. That's a nice compromise on size. Quite a bit more braking power than the 160s. Not quite as much as the 220s, but and then, as is standard for inverted forks, we've got the larger axle here. So yeah, let me get this together and we'll start taking a look at it. Just inverted the bike and put the front wheel on, but something's obviously out here. Let me see if I can get the camera up here.
Look at this little gap right here as I spin. Hopefully they'll be able to see that. But I've got a very bent rotor from shipping. That rotor took a hit on the side there. I think you can probably almost see that just from me rotating, but it's if you look right here at the brakes, it's very bent. So I've got to try to straighten that out before I go any further. So these are Nipex pliers. I highly recommend these for straighten and bent rotors. These are made in Germany. They're real nice quality pliers, but you see they have smooth jaws. I need to clean them, make sure there's no oil or grease on them before I touch the rotors. But they do a great job of straightening rotors without leaving any marks. Okay, I was able to get that straightened out to the point where I don't have any rubbing right now. We'll see if it develops a tick or two as I start riding it. If so, I'll need to do a little more tweaking, but I think it's probably repairable. It's a shame that that happens so often in shipping, but it does. These crates get things stacked on top of them, even though they say not to lay flat, but they do, and the wheels on the side and the rotors get tweaked. So let's see what we got here on the rear. That one, to my naked eye, looks perfectly straight. So I think that one came through fine. So we'll see if I was able to get this fully straightened out or if I need to contact them and have them send me another rotor. We'll see. Okay, before I go any further, I'll show you what else came in the box here. So you get the Cyrusher owner's manual. I wish that Cyrusher would do a better job with their manuals. They're when you compare it to some of the other bikes, I mean, this is better here. This has more information, but let's see if the front half is in English here. Yeah, it is. Okay. So this is a better job than they do with the Ranger. But when you compare it to some of the manuals that come with other bikes, like the Juiced, for example, they come with incredible manuals, really comprehensive, really well done, and just nice quality. So Cyrusher should up the quality of their manuals by a bit. That would be appreciated by everyone. With this particular bike comes Allen wrenches and a 15 for your pedals. The pedals look decent for sure. They're an alloy, and Maroka. I'm not familiar with that brand, but they look completely adequate. Came with this little tire pump here. Unfortunately, it's not of a quality that's going to be really much use to you. And the charger is a 3 amp lithium ion charger. You know how sometimes you get these e-bikes and the chargers feel really cheap and flimsy and all this. This actually feels substantial. It feels like a decent quality product there. So those are the items that were in the box as well. Bike's still upside down here. Got to put the pedals on, a couple of other things, and then we're gonna start looking it over. Okay, the next step, now that the bike's together, is to hang it from my scale here and see what the actual weight is of this bike. And this guy is 85.5 pounds. And my scale is extremely accurate. So, must be the gravitational pull is harder here, because these bikes always weigh more than the advertised weight. So 85.5 pounds on the Nitro. Just for comparison, here's my modified Ranger with the air forks, which drop several pounds, and a few other things I've done that drop some weight off of it. And it is now weighing in at 83.5 pounds. So that's quite an improvement. This big massive frame is made out of aluminum. I would assume 6061 aluminum, although it doesn't have a decal on it like most of their bikes do. But very heavy, beefy parts. Looks like it's really well made, honestly. Looks really nice in person. This bike is available in 3 different colors. I believe the background color is the same on all of them, but the graphic part here is available in gray, red, or blue, and this is the gray. Okay, so I've laid the bike down on its side. We'll just run through the components and what I see on this side, at least as far up as the steer tube there. And we'll get to the front end here later. So we've got steel cogs here on the back. If I remember right, I counted these at 14 and 36. It is a 10-speed, and the steel is definitely what you want to run with a motor that's putting out this much power. We've got the Diore derailleur here, and I'll have to experiment with this and see whether the mid-drive likes the clutch on or off, or if it even makes a difference. But being one of the Shimano mountain bike models, it does have the clutch. The cable routing looks decent. It's tucked up and out of the way here, fastened in a couple of spots. The rear triangle here is actually 2-piece. Got the lower joined here on both sides. Got this here. They did a nice job on grinding the welds, making everything smooth before they painted. So that looks good. It's got a KMC chain. So chain ring here on the front is a 44 tooth, and it uses the Alasco Bafang branded forged cranks here. Those are 170 millimeter. Comes with the little alloy chain guide that helps to keep your chain on the front here. I've had pretty good luck with those. The D&M shock here is the same shock used on the Ranger, and I've had great luck with that shock. I'm real happy with the quality of that. It's held up really well for me. I've heard of a person or two with the Ranger where that shock is given out, but I haven't had that experience. It's worked really well. This does have a dropper seat post. Down to the motor here. It is a 48 volt, 30 amp, 1000 watt motor, and I looked up the specs on this, and this motor does actually peak at 1500. So the linkage and all looks like it's nicely done. That all looks good, and coming back up to the 48 volt battery, 20 amp hours, and we will stop right there, and I'm going to flip this bike over and we'll take a look at the brake side here. Okay, here on the brake side, we've got the 180 millimeter rotors. We've got the Tektro 2-piston brake calipers, and the brake line routing, very similar to the shifter routing, but it looks like it's pretty secure. Got a side stand. I had a general aversion to having a side stand on a off-road bike here until I just learned how convenient it is to actually have that, especially on a bike that weighs as much as these do. So I'm leaving this one on there. So I think we talked about that from the other side, and that is it. We'll go up to this point and we'll stop right there. So my next step is to put this bike onto the work stand, and we'll take a little closer look at the suspension and do some measurements and all that kind of thing. Okay, I sure hope my videos are coming out okay. The light went from super bright sunny morning to a rainy afternoon here, and the light quality in my shop isn't nearly what it was a couple of hours ago. So the first thing I'm noticing is that the gears are out of adjustment. You can probably hear that. So first step is to do a little adjusting on that and see if I can clear that up. Okay, so we've got the air out of the shock. I'm going to set up a piece of the packing that came with the bike right next to it here. We're going to measure the lowest point and the highest point, and we'll know where our travel is at after that. So I will put some marks on here, and then we'll do some measuring. So this is what I got for the low point and the high point on the travel measurement. It's not a perfect scientific measurement, but it's close enough for government work, and it'll give us a good idea. This is within, just a couple of millimeters of what the actual travel is. So I'm measuring right at about 110 millimeters. If you've got a bike with air suspension, you've got to have a shock pump. This is the one that I've used for years. It's worked well. It's in 5 psi increments here in the display, and it'll get you real close to where you want to be. It's also got a bleeder here, so decent little pump. Not very expensive, but you do need this if you've got air suspension. And the pressure will go up on these pretty quick once you get a little air in them. It's a very small chamber there. And right there is 115. I'm going to go one pass because I'm going to lose a little bit of air coming off. There we go. So that'll be our starting point for adjusting the sag and all that in the suspension. Okay, so I'm getting up to the front end of this bike, and I'm going to do a quick cutaway. I'm trying to keep this video as short as possible by doing shorter clips and all that. But I'm going to do a cutaway to Cyrusher website, and then we're going to come back and look at this front fork here. So this is a press release from Cyrusher, and this is of July of 2023, so it's not old. And they talk about the front and rear air shocks, and just what a great suspension it is. Okay, we're gonna see if we can video tape this website. I can't get it to print, but this is from the official Cyrusher website. Inverted suspension fork over here. And that says this fork features an inverted design with dual shoulders and 135 millimeter air pressure, which can be adjusted to suit your needs. The open air pressure allows for customization, while the effective shock absorber measures up to 200. I'm assuming that means 200 millimeters. Sharing a comfortable ride. Also, we've got 4-piston double bar brake. Okay, so we're back to these forks. They came on the bike. You can see they're a double crown design, 42 millimeter uppers, 32 millimeter lowers, and overall, when you first look at them, they look pretty reasonable. When I first looked at them, I thought, well, that's kind of odd. It's got this big cap that's black. Normally there's an anodized cap for where you add air. And then I came around to this side and I looked underneath, and this adjuster, I've got this from a different fork here. But this preload adjuster is on the bottom of that fork, and that immediately told me that this is not an air fork, that it's a coil spring fork. And that's really disappointing, because one of the things that I was really looking forward to was a factory designed full air suspension on this bike. It's got air on the rear, but just like the Ranger that came to me, that early reports said that had full air suspension. All the information still on the Cyrusher sites about this bike and all still refer to an air fork on this, and this is not. So that's a letdown. I'm not saying that this won't work well for many people. It very well may. But it's not what I was expecting, and it's not. If I had paid full price for the bike, I'd be pretty upset that I didn't get the air fork that was advertised on it. So I've been able to compress this just as far as I can, just by holding the brake and pushing down on it. And so far I'm seeing about 70 millimeters of travel here. I don't know what I'll actually get out of this when I get out on the trail and start hitting some bigger bumps. Hopefully a lot more than that, but in no way is this the 200 millimeter of travel air fork that was advertised. It's marked as a Zoom. Alloy bars with very little rise, so it's very short and very flat on the front end here. I always consider everything like bars, stems, seats, pedals to be something that you customize yourself. I don't really care what those components are when I buy a bike, grips, that kind of thing. I'm assuming that I'm going to be changing and putting on what I like anyway. I'm always pleasantly surprised if I get a bike that fits me well, that I like the rise on, that I like the seat on, that kind of thing. So I'm not judging the bike by this very flat bar with a short reach. And when I get on the trails, I may really like it. Okay, so when we come back up to the brake levers, we've got the Tektro brakes. These are used on quite a number of e-bikes, and they're a good quality brake. No complaints there. So underneath here is the Diori shifter. That's a good shifter, good quality. Come across here, you've got a thumb throttle. I'm not big on the thumb throttles personally. I like a twist grip, but I'm okay with that because of that they were able to put on the Odi grips, which are the locking, easy to remove grips there. So those are nice. And you've got a lever over here for your drop seat. So when I first pulled the bike out of the box, it was obvious that the cable for the drop seat was too tight, because you'd put pressure on the seat even with the lever in the locked position, and the seat would just push down. So they had the cable adjusted too tight, and I cranked it all the way in, which was only a couple of turns past where it was, and it still wasn't enough. So I had to loosen up the set screw on the bottom and put a little more play into that cable, so it's got that much play before it actually engages. And now the seat locks in place the way it should. So came with the cable too tight. So I'm really liking the look of this seat. It feels very comfortable, and if I like it once I get out on the trail and all, I may order another one of these for the Ranger, because I really like the look of it. So you'll notice on this bike there are no lugs for a rear rack. So no rear rack on this one. You can't really attach one of those clip-on fenders that stick out this way, because you've got a dropper post. So no mud protection on the rear, and no rack. You do have water bottle lugs here. That looks like there's enough room to work a water bottle in sort of sideways and down. I'll have to put a cage on there and see. If you come up to the front of the bike, you'll notice that there is no headlight. I'll have to put a clip-on USB charged headlight here, and I just like to have some sort of light when I'm riding home late in the afternoon, kind of thing, you know, a flasher or something, so that people see you. If we come over here to the display, we'll turn this on. It is a color display. Kilometers per hour, I'm gonna have to change that to miles, obviously. Up here in the corner, you've got a little icon for a headlight, but you don't actually have a headlight. You got a USB charge icon and a maintenance icon, which is the little wrench there. I'll have to look into what you can turn on for warnings there. Over here is a Bluetooth icon, so this is does have Bluetooth. You got your trip meter, your watts right here, which is something that I'll be interested to see what those numbers go to as I'm riding, when I'm take this first ride out on the trail. Battery is shown in a bar as well as a percentage. So pretty basic display, but it all looks good. I think there are quite a few functions of this, but because the Cyrusher manual is so lacking, it literally came with nothing, so I'm going to have to download something online for this particular unit. So hey everyone, hey, thanks for sticking with me to the end on this video. I know it turned out to be kind of long, but I had a lot to go over here. So my first impressions of this bike after looking it over, spending the day with it and all that, are that from here on back, looks great, awesome. And I'm just really disappointed that I got coil spring forks when they should have been air. So I'm not saying that they're not going to work okay, but they're, I guarantee you, they're 6-7 pounds heavier than an air fork, and don't have nearly the travel, and it's just disappointing. You think you're getting full air suspension. So
My recommendations to Cyrusher would be, you really gotta, this is the extent of the owner's manual right here. This is like a Walmart bike owner's manual. We've got a little bit of information on the air shock here that's in English. The first part of this manual I think is in Spanish, and then in Chinese. Little bit of information on the air shock, but very little. I had to go online and print out the user's manual for the display there, and shouldn't have to do that when you're buying a $4,500 bike. Just as an example, the juice bikes come with a really amazing, very useful manual here. Multiple books, multiple pages. They have all the error codes, anything that you would need to diagnose a problem. One thing that I would really suggest that all the e-bike companies do, or I'd really like to see them do this, is to provide a schematic, exploded views with part numbers, so that when you have an issue, I need to buy bushings for this. I need to, I've got a cracked piece on the linkage here, and I need that. You could just call up and order using a part number, just like everything else in this world. For some reason, e-bikes have not evolved to that stage yet, but it would be great to have part numbers for all the miscellaneous parts on this. I can look up part numbers for the motor, but that's from the manufacturer. But another thing to include in the manuals. I'll get it on the trails. Obviously, I've run so long with this video that I won't be doing any actual ride video with this. But I will get out on the trails as soon as it stops raining, and be posting my first impressions on rides and all of that, and hopefully get out and have a whole bunch of fun with it here this fall. So that's where we're at with this. If you're interested in one of these bikes, I will have an affiliate link. If you're interested in a Ranger, I will have an affiliate link for that as well. I absolutely love my Ranger. I'm hoping that I end up loving this bike just as much. We'll see. It has potential. I just hope I don't have to spend more money and buy another air fork. So we'll see. But thanks so much for watching, and see you on the next video.